What's up, wall fans, common sensors, podcast consumers? Welcome to the video feed for episode 126 of Go Tell It to the Wall podcast, hosted by me, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. We are back at it just 2 days after our last episode. A little bit slammed here in the studio today, so I'm going to just get right into it with episode 126.
1, 2, 3, go tell it to the wall. Tell it to the wall. Go tell it to the wall. Tell it to the wall.
All right, wall fans, common sensors, podcast consumers. Welcome to another very exciting edition of Go Tell It to the Wall podcast. This is episode 126, hosted by me, of course, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. Yes, another weekday episode. I'm taking advantage of having my studio back during the week. For those of you on the video feed, you actually see the studio. I'm raising my hands, so those of you that only listen, just imagine that you're seeing a studio in the background here of the video, because I've got it back, at least for a couple more days here. So that being said, that's why we're back to the old Go Tell It to the Wall format. Common Sense Sunday's not going anywhere. That's just, those happen on Sundays and maybe a Saturday. Everything else is going to be kind of branded under the traditional Go Tell It to the Wall podcast episodes. I don't have a ton of time today. I've got to pick up the kiddo again at school, just like I did the other day. So for those of you watching on the video, I will be looking down at my phone. It's on silent, but if it starts to light up, it could be my kid's school calling, which I'm actually going to talk a little bit about in parenting. And of course, before we get into the meat of episode 126, we always kick things off with our social plugs. You can keep up with us during episodes, after episodes, for episodes, whenever you so please, and you can do that in multiple locations. One of those would be facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. That's right, facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. Also, our YouTube channel. Head over there and subscribe to our channel, which is at youtube.com/GoTellItToTheWall. Again, youtube.com/GoTellItToTheWall. You just got to remember /GoTellItToTheWall for most things, except for this one, which would be on my own personal Instagram account, which is at SoCalSean, SoCalSean, at SoCalSean. If you're an Instagram user, follow me over there as well. Lots of activity going on there in addition to all the other stuff. And of course, most importantly, if you remember one thing, which you don't even have to remember because you can pause and you can go back and be like, what's that? If you can't remember /Go Tell It to the Wall, definitely remember SeanO'RourkeLive.com. That's right, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. That is your one-stop shop for everything that is Go Tell It to the Wall, Common Sense Sundays, Go Tell It to the Brewery, and of course myself, Sean O'Rourke. So bookmark that one, check back off, and you're also going to find a link to our Patreon page. Help us out financially if you have the means to do so. And of course our merch website, which links directly there from SeanO'RourkeLive.com. Pick up some merch. Holidays right around the corner. All right, and I just want to take a moment to thank everybody out there. I know, hang on, I'm going to fix this slightly. We're a little bit, there we go. I've been messing with the studio camera because I've had some Zoom calls and stuff. Anyway, now that we're tangented sufficiently, I want to give a quick thank you to everyone who reached out and wished me a very happy birthday. My birthday was yesterday, November 18th. I hope all of your gifts are in the mail. I'm just kidding. Don't send me things. I don't need things. I have lots of things. I do like tasty beers, but outside of that, I've got plenty of other things. But thank you to everyone who reached out, posted on Facebook, did all the things. Lots of nice little messages and stuff. I really do appreciate it. I am not a huge fan of my birthday. I tend to, and especially because my wife, my sis Laura, a bunch of my good friends, they're all down in Florida. They usually are for my birthday, so it was me and my kiddo. I enjoyed it, but I tend to get kind of like meh around my birthday. So despite that, I do appreciate everyone reaching out, and I do love seeing, feeling all the love from all of you out there. So thank you very much. I will say I am recovering a little bit today. I am nursing a bit of a hangover, not a booze hangover, mind you. I mean, I did have a couple beers last night after the kiddo went to bed, but more of a food hangover. So I had my traditional Popeyes dinner last night, which isn't a traditional birthday dinner. It's just my normal Popeyes dinner, which is 2 spicy chicken sandwiches and some French fries. It's pretty. I shouldn't be eating that much, but I love those chicken sandwiches. So I had 2 of them as usual. But the killer was my wife from Florida sent me some donuts yesterday from a local place called Colorado Donuts. And these are not just like glazed donuts. These are fancy peanut butter cup like donuts and stuff like that. And I haven't been eating a lot of sugar. So last night, kiddo's in bed. She had a little piece of one of the donuts because she sees these things like, of course, I'm not going to have these sitting on the table and you're not going to try them. So she had like a little piece. But after she went to bed, I'm sitting watching TV and I was like, you know what? Why not? I'm going to have a donut. So I had a whole donut. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, you know what? That was really good. I'm going to have another donut. So I had 2 of these ridiculously decadent donuts. I'm feeling the effects today. I'm sure I gained at least 5 pounds between that and the chicken sandwiches. But I woke up kind of like, whoa, I am feeling the food hangover. That's a lot of sugar for me. It really is. I used to be able to take down sugar like that. Not so much anymore. So I'm recovering from the food that I had yesterday. And I know it's just I may as well prepare for next week because it's Thanksgiving next week. And we're having a little gathering on Sunday with my friends once my wife is back in town. So I'm sure I'm going to eat some junk at that time as well. It's just laying the base layer, I guess. All right, now that the opening is done, took forever on that. As always happens, I'm like, we have limited time, and then I get all tangented and off the rails, and here we are. Digital trends. Let's get into some digital trends. If you've been on any social media platform over the past couple hours, you know that this is trending. It's been trending for a couple days, but now that we have an actual verdict, I don't mean to chuckle. It's just such a great example of the ridiculousness in this country. And I talked about it last episode. I am not a lawyer. I didn't go to law school. I don't know the intricacies of the law. I don't. It's just not something outside of some film law and television law, I don't know much. So I'm not going to sit here and try to discuss it from an expert level. But what I will say is hold on to your butts because that we're going to go through some stuff here, especially there in Kenosha. It could get a little wild. So just everybody be safe out there. Just absolutely be safe. And know that I say this all the time, you're going to differ in opinion with a lot of people on social platforms, social networks. Don't engage with them. You can disagree, but don't engage with those people because it's not going to be worth your time. You're just going to get yourself more worked up. And most importantly, like I said, be safe out there. I'm sure we have some protests coming our way. So just everyone be safe out there. And especially based on what happened with this trial, be extra safe out there. Because who knows what the hell can happen since we have now set this precedent. But that's all I'm going to say. Do your own research on something like this. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to comment from an expert perspective on this because I'm not an expert in anything, especially when it comes to law, criminal law. And by no means am I an expert, not even close to it. All right, another thing trending on the social networks right now, and if you're not aware of this, if you are aware of this, it's just kind of a funny anecdote. And if you're not aware of this, it's sports related, but I would encourage you to check this out because it's something in the history of professional sports in this country that even if you're not a sports fan, you can kind of recognize as crazy. Today is actually the, I believe, 17th anniversary. It's not even like a round number anniversary, but it's floating around on social platforms right now because today is the anniversary of the Malice in the Palace, in finger quotes, Malice in the Palace. If you're not familiar with this one, this is a couple of the Indiana Pacers were playing the Detroit Pistons. Was it the Pistons? I think two teams. It was definitely the Indiana Pacers because a couple guys on the Indiana Pacers started getting in fights with people in the crowd. It's come to be known as the Malice in the Palace. Coincidentally, years ago, I happened to be watching this game live. I watched the whole thing unfold live and my mouth was just open the whole time. Like, holy there's professional athletes in the stands right now fighting with fans. It was crazy, absolutely crazy. And again, even if you're not a sports fan, it is a piece of professional sports history in this country that's like, oh my God, this actually happened. This is not a movie. This happened. So check that out if you're not familiar with it. If you are familiar with it, you're probably remembering like, oh yeah, stuff was spawned from the dress codes for professional athletes. Like, oh, it was madness at one time, like 17, 16, 18 years, somewhere around there. It was early 2000s. But that one, of course, trending on the social platforms right now because everyone remembers it. I always remember the date of it because it's my sister's birthday, and I remember being like, "Oh, it's my sister's birthday. I'm watching this." I wasn't with my sister, but her birthday's the day after mine, and it happened the day after my birthday, so I always remember the exact date. Now I was reminded because I opened social platforms. I was like, "Oh yeah, Malice in the Palace. Why are we talking? Oh, it is the anniversary. Sure enough." All right, there was a viral birthday tweet that went out. It really caught fire maybe like a week ago. This woman, and I'm not going to read the exact quote. I'm not even going to give her credit for doing this, although she deserves credit because it's kind of ridiculous. Basically put out a statement saying, if you invite me to your birthday party, and it's like a dinner or something, you should be paying for the whole tab. Don't invite me to a birthday party and expect me to pay for my own food. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what the tweet was. Now, of course, common sense prevailed, and she did get raked over the coals a little bit. And it's funny because one of the responses, or part of it was, you go to kids' birthday parties and the kids aren't paying for their own dinner. And it's like, no shit, they're kids. That's adult birthdays and kids' birthdays are not the same thing. Are you going to dinner parties that have a fucking bouncy house in the yard? Like, I just, these are not the same thing. This is, one of these things is not like the other. Neither of them are like each other. It's pretty simple that way. But of course, raked over the coals. And here's the thing. I've never heard of anything like this. It's if you're going to dinner for your friend's birthday, you're usually paying for your own. You're probably throwing in a few bucks for your friend's dinner. That's kind of the tradition. I gotta say, I don't think I've ever been out to dinner on my birthday with a group of friends and actually paid for my own dinner. It's I've even argued like no, it's your birthday. And I've done that to other people. No, it is your birthday. You're not paying for your own dinner. We're splitting this tab, or maybe somebody's flashing a black card there and I got the whole thing. But it's like, really? You expect the person's birthday for them to pay for an entire meal for their? That's just crazy. Now, if you're having a little gathering like I am on Sunday, I bought a bunch of food and beer and I'm going to put it out. But if we went out to like a dinner at a restaurant, I've never heard of someone expecting the birthday person to pay for the entire meal. Now maybe if you're like a millionaire and your friends aren't all you're like, yes, okay, well, guys, I'm rich as hell. Let me go ahead and pay for this, even though it's my. That now we're getting into a little gray area. But for the love of God, buy your own meal. It's someone else's birthday. They didn't invite you out to buy you dinner. They invited you out to celebrate their birthday. Pretty damn simple. But of course, raked over the coals. Fortunately, some people did agree. I actually. You got to put on your hazmat suit before you go into the comment section. I went in the comments, people were agreeing. But I'm pretty sure common sense prevailed there, and most people are like, you are not thinking clearly on this one. All right, we got a hashtag for this particular episode, because today, not only the anniversary of the Malice in the Palace, today is also apparently hashtag International Men's Day. Not even national, International Men's Day. Tons of white males out there rejoicing that they finally got their own day. The same people that are celebrating hashtag International Men's Day are probably the same people that were complaining about hashtag International Women's Day and saying, well, where's the Men's Day? Well, there you go. It's right there. And all I'm going to say on this is men, we don't need an International Men's Day. Men have been screwing up the world for generations. Let's just go ahead and leave that one to the side. We're not talking about a marginalized group of people here. I don't know why we're having hashtag International Men's Day, but for those of you celebrating, congratulations. I guess I'm not celebrating. All right, some COVID updates. Oh, boy. The mask and vax mandates really coming into full effect. I know in a lot of cities and states across the country, but specifically here in Los Angeles. I was actually out taking my daughter to dance class yesterday, and we were early, so we went walking around the area around her dance class. And we weren't going into places, but there's a couple restaurants and stores and stuff, and I was happy to see a lot of signs that were saying you need proof of vax to come in. Some of the restaurants they had their dining rooms closed again, and signs like because of a surge. We're going through this kind of little surge. It doesn't look like it's going to be as bad as the Delta, but we're going. And it seemed like most people were complying with these mandates. Most businesses and most patrons complying with the mandates. Even my daughter, who's in a dance class, I can't be in the dance class with her. They have like 4 or 5 kids in the dance class and one teacher in this giant room, and they wear masks, and then I sit out right outside the room and I can kind of hear what's going on and peek in for a second. Looking good, type thing. But I'm really happy to see that. And all the masks, thankfully. I think. Now, I am spoiled being in Southern California, specifically in Los Angeles. I shouldn't say Southern California because it's a different world down there in Orange County for some people. But in Los Angeles, most people are, in fact, wearing their masks. It's not that big a deal. I wear a mask sitting outside at my daughter's dance class. It's not a hard thing to do. Went to Target yesterday wearing a mask. Went to the grocery store wearing a mask. Had to take my kid to Target. That's the thing, is I'll get tangented for a second. When you get to my age, the excitement for certain things is palpable. I had to go to Target yesterday to pick up a card table. It was very exciting, and I'll tell you, I was actually very excited because we have folding tables at my house, but I wanted a square, what they call a card table, literally for playing cards. Dominoes. I play a lot of dominoes at my house, and I was like, I just want to have the table specifically for that. That's square, so we're not trying to sit around a rectangle table. We have a glass top table in my backyard, which we have played dominoes on. But anyone out there who's played dominoes, like actually seriously played, sometimes those things getting slammed down on the table. Nah, you don't want to be playing it on a glass table. But that was the excitement for my birthday. I was picking up a card table there at Target. But again, masks. Everybody's in masks. Not a big deal. My daughter wears a mask all day at school. She's wearing a mask right now as she's at school. It's not a huge deal, so I'm happy to see that. We are seeing some reports. Apparently the band Fish, with a PH, Fish. You've all probably heard of this band. They're very Grateful Dead-ish. They're like a jam band. I have some friends that are very, very big fans of Fish. They played a couple shows in Vegas. I believe they did them indoors with like 16,000 people at these shows. And we're kind of slowly getting reports from certain people that attended the concerts that there's some positive tests coming out of that. It doesn't look like kind of the full-on outbreak, for lack of a better word. And the cool thing is to see the responsibility of people. People are posting within like their fan groups. I'm sure if you're a fan of any band out there, musician, whatever it is, there's these fan groups out there, especially on Facebook. And people are posting, hey, I had a positive test. Here's where I was sitting. If you were sitting anywhere in this section, get tested. And this is just another example. As horrible as it is to see that we had a spreading event there, it's great to see everyone taking responsibility. This is what they do in Korea. Because I have a friend that was there a few months ago for work, and it's contact tracing. It's not that difficult to do, and doing things like that keep us all safer, really, so we can do better. Hopefully, the masks there helped. I haven't been at any huge shows inside, but I've been to smaller shows inside wearing masks, and I've been safe so far, knock on wood. And outside, even wearing masks in the crowds, but mask off, when I'm away from the crowds, because it's outside. It's a little different there. And we did get news from the CDC or FDA, whoever's making the recommendations. Everybody now eligible for a booster. If you got your first 2 shots and it's been 6 months or more, head on out there, get a booster. In fact, I saw somebody post online today. They just walked into a CVS, didn't even have an appointment, got their booster shot, and they were out of there in a couple minutes. So I haven't gotten mine yet. Waiting for my wife to get back in town. I'm probably just going to wait until after Thanksgiving, like right after Thanksgiving, in case I have a bunch of funky side effects, which I doubt. I didn't have any side effects from the first 2 shots. In fact, I got my second shot, came home, ate a little something, and went and lifted weights. I don't know if that helped, but maybe it did. I've seen people say, like, oh, go do some exercise, and it helps, kind of with the side effects. So just do it. If you're 6 months after your second shot, get the booster. It's going to help yourself. It's going to help everybody. And in fact, again, we're seeing this surge. Austria, as of today, the country of Austria is in a full-on lockdown. Like, people can't even leave their houses, can't leave the country. It's kind of crazy. So unfortunately, we're still in the thick of it. Still talking about COVID, almost 2 years later here. So let's all do our part, and let's all do better. All right, the weekly rant. Oh boy, this one's kind of silly, but I gotta just talk about it. So like I said, I went to Popeyes yesterday, going to the drive-thru dance class with the kiddo. Hit the drive-thru on the way home, little dinner. And here's the thing. I don't mind sitting in the drive-thru forever. I was sitting in this drive-thru for like 20-plus minutes just waiting. Everybody's ordering. And it's funny. I hear the car in front of me. Dude ordered $60-something worth of spicy chicken sandwiches. I'm just like, dude, they're like $4. That's a lot of sandwiches, man. I'm sure big crowd of people or whatever he's going to meet up with. But big, long line at Popeyes. I don't mind that. I order and stuff. It's fine. But I get up to the window, and the guy doesn't even say hello to me. He's just kind of like, and the funny thing is, he says, picking up an order, and I was like, yeah, I'm at the drive-thru. And I told him, I was like, yeah, no, I just ordered at the speaker. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah. And I was like, hi, how are you, sir? And then he's like, blah, 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 or whatever. And I start to give him my card, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot, because my daughter wanted a biscuit. And I was like, I totally forgot to order a biscuit. Is there any way I can add a biscuit to this? He's like, no, it's too late. I'm like, really? Now, I've worked in retail, and I've worked in food service. This is one of those instances where you're just like, and, I bought $20-something worth of food. Sandwiches for me, dinner for my kid, a giant French fry. I've got leftovers in the fridge. Plenty of money was spent on this food. And the guy, nope, can't have a biscuit. Really, I can't. And my kid's in the back. She's like, oh, why can't we? And I was like, I don't know, sweets. Like, We can't get a biscuit. First of all, you want to charge me? That's fine. Figure out a way to do it. Give me a damn biscuit. On top of that, you probably could have just thrown a biscuit in the bag for me. Call it a day. Throw the biscuit in the bag for me. And in fact, stark difference from my grocery trip earlier in the day yesterday. I go to Vaughn's here, picking up a bunch of stuff. 2 different workers in the store complimented my purple hair. Yesterday was complimenting the purple hair day because that wasn't the only instance. I go up to check out. Friendliest checkout person, friendliest person bagging we're joking around and all this stuff. And, they're teasing me. Not in a bad way, but they're, this is pre-made cheese and crackers. I was like, yeah, my wife's out of town, so I'm not as good with the party prep, and we're joking back and forth. Pleasant experience. And then at Target, a little later, hi from a couple of associates around the stores. I'm carrying this giant card table. Got my 5-year-old on one hand, giant card table on the other, and she's picking up pirate booty. Oh, that reminds me, pirate booty, and my kid is hilarious. Let's go up to another compliment on my hair. All good. She gives my daughter some Target stickers. Such a pleasant experience compared to Popeyes. Now, I understand. Please don't send me the hate mail. I understand sometimes people are going through other things. I respect that. But even if you're having a terrible day, can I just get a, hi, how you doing? It's kind of like 101 of customer service. A hi, how you doing? And just give me the damn biscuit. I got a 5-year-old in my car wants a biscuit. Like, what is the big deal here? It's not like I just came up to the window and was like, hey, give me a free biscuit. No, I just spent some money. What's a biscuit cost? 50 cents or something ridiculous like that? Just give me the damn biscuit. So I'm hoping customer service. I left there yesterday. I was like, I'm never going back to Popeyes again. To be fair, I was hungry. And I was not giving attitude back. I was like, hi, not at all. But I was like, that's ridiculous. I've calmed down a little since then. I can still feed my chicken sandwich addiction, fortunately, and my kid's chicken nugget addiction. Chicken nuggets, not addicted to chicken nuggets from anywhere except Popeyes because it's like good, real chicken. Oh, and I did enjoy the hell out of those chicken sandwiches last night. I got some leftover nuggets in the fridge. I think that's what I'm going to have for lunch today after I pick up my kiddo at school. But let's all just do better. Friendliness begets friendliness. And I understand I'm often, my mental illness often puts me in a very, 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 very bad mood. Just a smile and a hi, how you doing goes a long way, even if you're having a bit of a rough day. So remember that. Anyone out there, I was going to say, remember that, anyone out there in customer, just remember that in life. Smile. Hey, how you doing? It's so easy, even if you're having a bad day. Because here's the thing. Someone else is having a bad day and they get a smile and a hey, how you doing? You might be making their day. Just keep the positivity rolling. All right. Mental health. I want to talk a little bit about mental health. I don't have a lot this episode. Hopefully this will keep the episode shorter so I'm not late getting out of here. And I'm going to give you the full Punk in the Park recap. So that's going to take up a lot of time. As I joked about it last episode. That's like half an episode, the Punk in the Park recap. So we're going to shoot through all those bullet points. But mental health. Punk Rock Saves Lives. I'm a huge fan of Punk Rock Saves Lives. There's a sticker on the wall right there. I volunteer with them. I donate to them. I have plenty of Punk Rock Saves Lives shirts and hats, among other things, masks. But they announced a new partnership today with Mood. I have mentioned Mood. Full disclosure, I use Mood. I talked about them among other resources a few, maybe a couple months ago now, as possible mental health resources for you that are a little easier to navigate than going straight through some doctors, because you can actually get appointments, do them via Zoom, get prescriptions via Zoom. So they have announced a partnership. If Mood is something that you're interested in or have thought about doing, haven't done yet, now I'm already part of Mood, so it doesn't help me. But if you're not yet, make sure you go look up Punk Rock Saves Lives. It's probably on the website. I clicked through on Facebook today, but so if it's not on their website, which I haven't double checked yet, just go through Facebook and there'll be a link. It takes you through and you get $75 off your first month or whatever with Mood. And nobody quote me on exact costs. I use them, but I couldn't tell you the exact costs off the top of my head. But it's going to save you $75 if you go through Punk Rock Saves Lives. That link that is on there on Facebook, probably also on the website. So check them out. Mood is a great resource for anyone out there that needs it. It's not for everyone, but anyone that needs it, especially if you don't currently have, a plan or a doctor or ways to navigate your mental illness. Mood is a great way to kind of break in and get that going. So check them out, Punk Rock Saves Lives. Big shout out to them. Lots of toxicity coming. I just want to talk about this briefly. We talked about the Rittenhouse verdict and everything. There's going to be a lot of toxicity coming, and especially coming into an election year here in the United States. We're going to be going through a lot. And remember, you can't change everyone. So don't sacrifice your health in order to really argue with a wall. Because a lot of times you're arguing with strangers online. You're not going to change their mind. They're not going to change your mind in a lot of stuff. Now, a healthy debate is one thing. I'm not saying don't have discussions or anything, but just know arguing online is not the best thing for your mental health. And we got a lot of toxicity coming. I already know. I mean, for the most part in my feeds, all my friends are like, what the hell? What is this country coming to? But then, of course, I'm in some groups where people come out and they are defending the verdict and everything else. And it's not going to be worth your time for the most part. Just keep that in mind. You know, you're not a lawyer. You're not arguing with a lawyer. You're not going to get anywhere. You may as well just be yelling at a wall. Now, I realize I yell at a wall every episode, but that's kind of my thing. I'm not actually, I don't engage and argue with people online. It's not something I do. Even when I get the hate mail, which comes through SeanO'RourkeLive.com, I'm like, oh, that's cute. Click, delete. Like, thanks for your opinion, dude. Cool talk. Like, we're good here. Just keep that in mind. It's not worth your mental health by any means. And if you're not getting anything out of it, why are you doing it? You know, you're just giving someone a platform to argue with. That's really all you're looking at that point. So just keep that in mind when you see something. And trust me, I understand I read things and I'm like, oh my God, people are terrible. We're going to talk about CPAC here. Like, that was one of the most difficult ones for me not to engage. It's like, really? You're going to slander Muppets? I take that personal. If we're going to slander Muppets, I take it personal. We're going to get into some of that with common sense here. But not worth it. And I want to point out, we're doing sports related yet again. There's a wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans, A.J. Brown. He actually went through a bit of depression last year. And the reason I'm bringing him up here in mental health is he came out recently talking about his struggles, being open with it. This is something that we are huge proponents of here at Go Tell It to the Wall and often preach, talk about, encourage as much as possible, is being open in the hopes that somebody else will hear this and know that it's okay. Somebody else will hear it and know that they can get help. Somebody else will hear it and know that there's nothing wrong with them. That there's resources, all these other things. That's why we talk about mental health every single episode. It's something that's important to me because I've lived with it my entire life, and I've just to see the strides we've taken over the past 25, 20, 15, even 10 years. And it helps to have people of stature, well-known people like athletes, come out and say, hey, it's okay to feel this way. And in fact, one important thing he said, which is something I have talked about quite often, and I'm not trying to say, I thought about that first. No. It's great that somebody with a bigger platform than I have, or even a different platform, is speaking out about this. And he was talking about how brain health is just as important as body health. And that is important. You have to take care of your brain. Absolutely. So I encourage anyone out there that's interested, go look up A.J. Brown, and he did a press conference and talked very openly about it. And it's great to see, because even if it's like two teenagers that see that and say, you know what, it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to not be okay. Because that's what's important. All right, let's get into some positive news. Oh, man. This was a tough one today. I was prepping the show, and I saw breaking news that the verdict was coming. I know, and I said, I'm not going to talk about this. I'm not going to talk about and debate it and everything else. I'm simply trying to recognize the mood that this can be creating. So doesn't sound like this would be positive news. But for me, the positive news is seeing the outrage. And the outrage isn't positive, obviously, but the growth that can come from this can be positive. We have seen change based on certain protests that have happened over the past couple years, and as disgusting as this is to see, this is definitely going to motivate individuals to get out there and fight for change, hopefully motivate politicians to fight for change. And that is the one positive we can take from this. It's even international. I've seen, so this isn't even a United States thing. There's outrage across the pond here, I'm seeing from my friends that live in the UK that are outraged at this verdict. And again, I don't want to talk about legal stuff or whatever else. It's simply a common sense situation. And hopefully from that, we can find something positive and enact some change so that this doesn't continue to happen, that kids don't go into a crowd of people with a gun, regardless of intention. I don't want to see anyone walking around with an assault rifle in a crowd like that. It's just, that's why I live in California. This is a common occurrence in other states. That's why I live in California. And you know what? If you want to do it, that's fine. Go walking around with your guns. I'm not, nobody needs an assault rifle, but if you want to walk around with a common sense, that's fine. It's not for me. That's a large part of why I live in California. And there's still good. That's the other reminder, is the positive side of it is there's still good out there. We're not seeing everyone like, yeah, he's acquitted. Yeah. No, quite the opposite. So as terrible as it is to see and know kind of where the legal system, who they're protecting and where they're going, we are seeing at least something's going to come from the outrage. And you can see that there is plenty of good still out there, plenty of common sense still out there. And hopefully that'll at least be built upon, despite it being a terrible outcome in a lot of people's eyes. But take that motivation. Don't take it to violence. Don't take it to arguing with someone whose mind you're never going to change. But take that motivation to go out there and be a positive influence in your city, your state, your country, the world, your community itself, whatever it is. Be that positivity moving forward. All right, parenting. Oh boy, still going strong on the solo parenting. As I said, this is my wife's first business trip since before the pandemic began, almost 2 years, outside of like one little weekend trip that she took a little while ago for something else very important. But there hasn't been a challenge. It's actually been great. The one challenge is getting, and that's a challenge when my wife is in town, is getting the kid up in the morning. She loves doing this 1 more minute thing, and she often, like early hours of the morning, she'll crawl into bed, and I roll over and wait. I'm like, oh, there's a kid in my bed, and then so my alarm will go off, and I'm like, all right, let's time to get up, and I'll give her a couple minutes to come back. She's like, 1 more minute, and she's like a teenager, pulls the covers, 1 more minute, pulls the covers over, and it's like, all right, 1 minute, and then minute passes, 1 more minute. It's like, okay, no, we got to actually get to school. That is the challenge, is getting to school on time. I don't know why kids have to go to school so early, but that's what they do. And yesterday was nuts. I warned my kid because I was like, we had school, and then I had to go to the grocery store, and then we had our little Target adventure, and then it was dance class. And I told her, I was like, we are doing all these things. I got to do some work at home, Target, dance class. I had a parent-teacher conference yesterday, my first one ever, via Zoom, which was exciting, and that was great too. My wife jumps on from Florida, so two parents on opposite sides of the country conversing with my kid's teacher, and very, very positive. I think parent-teacher conferences are important. It's good to, and especially in these times where you can't really be in the classroom. Now I've met her teacher. I pretty much see her teacher every day because I go to pick up my kid, and she, they release the kids. They're like, oh, there's Zoe's dad, and blah blah. So I've met her, but it was nice to actually have some blocked out time to discuss my kid and class and everything with her. But going good, and as of today, end of school today. That's why they've had minimum days all week. That's what's been killing me too. Is usually I'm picking. I have an extra hour and a half on a normal basis, but this week it's like, oh, come pick your kid up at 11:30. And it's like, it's not actually 11:30, but it feels like it's like my kid. I just dropped her off. But as of today, it's going to be Thanksgiving break, which is interesting. I don't know how many of you out there in the U.S. When I was a kid, we usually had like a half day on Wednesday, and then you got Thursday, Friday off, and that was it. But now in Los Angeles Unified, they get the entire week off. So she's officially on Thanksgiving break in like less than an hour here. So that'll be exciting for her, and I'll have to find some activities to keep everything going smoothly next week. And in fact, I've already got an activity for Saturday, which kind of brings me to my next topic, and that would be meeting kids' friends' parents. So here's the thing. You can't always pick who your kids are friends with, and then, of course, you kind of get pushed into, and this hasn't really happened to me in a negative way yet. I often think about it because I'm spoiled. I have a circle of friends that have kids, and then our kids have become friends because they've known each other their entire lives, and we obviously get along like we were friends. But you always have that little instance of like, oh man, she's making a friend, I'm going to have to hang out with a parent. And usually it's fine. I've met parents at the school and stuff. They're all very nice. So I haven't actually been in a situation where I'm like, oh God, no. But I am a little bit nervous about Saturday because she has a birthday party to go to, which is actually right. We're going to walk to it because her school's there. Like the kids live in the neighborhood. We run into kids walking to and from school, and they're all very nice and everything. But I'm a little bit nervous that I got to go sit at this party with a bunch of parents that I probably maybe I've met briefly at the school but don't really know. And it's kind of like first day of school, making new friends, or you're like the new kid. I'm like, oh man. That's the thing. Even though I yell at a wall, and if you've met me in person at like a show or something, I'm around people that I know. I'm very loud and boisterous, but when I'm around people I don't know, I'm like a toddler. I'm kind of like I'm a little nervous. Takes me a little while to warm up, so I wouldn't say I'm dreading it. I'm just hoping that I don't make an ass of myself at this kid's birthday party. Not doing stuff with the kid, like not embarrassing the kids, but just sitting there conversing with parents that I didn't know previously. And let's save that. I'm going to save that for next parenting because I'm going to end up running out of time. That's what always happens. And we still got this Punk in the Park recap to get through. All right, let's talk some common sense. This is what I was referring to a little while ago. The Sesame Street Backlash. Yeah, because Big Bird came out in support of vaccines, which for those of you not aware, Sesame Street has been supporting and promoting safe vaccines since at least the 70s, maybe before that. There's literally clips of Big Bird saying get vaccinated from the 70s. Amazing, I know. But of course, we're getting some backlash from CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference or Caucus or whatever it is. I don't really care. I'm like a bunch of idiots. I'm going to be honest. I have no problem if you want to be conservative. CPAC, ridiculous. In fact, they put out advertising saying that the Sesame, like multiple different little advertising things were not invited to the CPAC conference in Florida. And it's like Big Bird and it's Elmo and it's Bert and Ernie and it's all this other stuff. It's like, really? Like this is what we're doing now? You're threatened by fucking Muppets? Muppets. And this is why I take it personally. Like, don't bring Muppets into this. For those of you aware, my playa name is Magical Muppet. There's a lot of Muppets around this studio. A lot of Henson stuff. A lot of it. Because I've loved the Muppets since I was a kid. And I was dubbed Magical Muppet by my sis Juliet. And I proudly have continued that playa nickname for a long time. And it's even more ridiculous because the leader of the CPAC, the conference leader or whatever it is, came out criticizing the newest Muppet on Sesame Street, who is Asian American, and said there should be no Asian American Muppets. His head's probably exploding right now because he's so offended by an Asian American Muppet and Big Bird promoting vaccines. This is the world we live in. Common sense says we need things like this. When you are able to include a marginalized group, a minority group, in something where kids can then see themselves in it. This was like Black Panther years ago, where so many young kids of color were able to see a superhero that looked like them. All throughout history, really in this country at least, maybe might be a little better in other countries. White male superheroes, female white superheroes, like. So to be so offended by an Asian American Muppet, and I saw a quote from him saying something along the lines of, it's always just been simple and stuff, and there's never been race included in anything, and I'm sitting there going, holy shit, I learned to count to 6 in Spanish when I was like 3 from Sesame Street because they were teaching you how to count in Spanish. There have been people of color and cultural references on Sesame Street since before I was born. You ever meet Gordon? Maria? That's been a important tentpole of Sesame Street since the beginning of Sesame Street. Absolutely. So give me a break, CPAC. And how can you take them seriously? We're talking about the same people that were calling a lot of people snowflakes for years. Oh, you're all snowflakes. Are now offended by a Muppet. Like, really? Really? And they're also the same people that were like, you can't cancel Dr. Seuss for his wildly racist books. Never canceled the guy, you just canceled the racist books. But by all means, they're yelling out there, don't cancel Dr. Seuss. You're trying to cancel Big Bird for common sense stuff. The hypocrisy is astounding. It really is. It's absolutely astounding. But that's the world we live in. Here's another one that I saw floating around social platforms. So apparently today or yesterday, President Joe Biden went in for a colonoscopy. If you're familiar with colonoscopies, you actually get put under anesthesia for that. So he's fully put under. So there was a report that came out that said Kamala Harris actually held the presidential powers for 85 minutes today while Joe Biden was put under for his colonoscopy. I actually saw multiple posts from people where they were like, oh man, you knew this was coming. You saw this coming and all this other stuff. And it's like, more ignorance, because if you simply do a little Googling, this is a very common practice among presidents of the United States of America when they go in for surgery. In fact, technically, Dick Cheney was president of the United States multiple times throughout George Bush's presidency in the early 2000s. This is not anything new. So for people to go out there and say, oh, look, what's happening now? Kamala Harris, powers of the president. Yeah, this has happened so much. It's not even funny. I believe Al Gore had it. Biden probably had it at one point with Obama. The only reason Mike Pence never had it is because the Orange Menace refused to sign over presidential powers while he was put under once or twice for actual, never confirmed, but I'm sure colonoscopy. That's the thing. When you hit a certain age, you get colonoscopies. It's a regular checkup for men of a certain age. I believe women too, but men get it a little earlier than women, or more often, I believe, because of prostate cancer, which is fairly predominant within men. I have friends that have gone in for their colonoscopies. I haven't had to get mine yet. I'm a year away from 40, so I've got a few years until I have to be going in regularly. But yeah, this is a common practice. Common. The ignorance is absolutely astounding. And this is one I didn't want to engage. I saw multiple ones, like people I've even known personally, and I'm like, seriously, like, what do you not? Just a little bit of Googling, and this is I know nothing about politics. I simply use common sense with it, but I knew before I saw the story that was a common occurrence. Let's all do better. Speaking of silly things that one side of the political system does here in this country, let's go Brandon. That's right. Let's go Brandon. Have you seen this trending and you heard people saying it? Let's go Brandon. This is some kind of finger quotes are coming out. This is some kind of code words for that the certain side of the political spectrum has been using, and they think they're very clever. But what I do love to see is everyone criticizing them for really not being clever at all. And if you're not familiar with this, Let's Go Brandon is supposed to be code, finger quotes, for fuck Joe Biden. Or fuck Biden. Here's the thing with it. See how I just said it? Just say it. You don't need a code word. Just say it. That's one of my favorite things. And from a common sense standpoint with people, people worship the Orange Menace and certain other people. What I love about my feed, and I've heard people say, oh, one side you're going to get all this pro-Trump stuff, you're going to get all this pro-Biden stuff. You go into my feed and it's basically fuck them all. That's what it is. A lot of people wanted to get Biden elected to get rid of the Orange Menace, but now they're criticizing him instead of worshiping at his feet. So really, don't try to be clever because it's not working out for you. You can just say fuck Joe Biden. It's not illegal. Nobody cares. I mean, come on. It's absolutely astounding that people think they're so clever. Let's go, Brandon. I see people post it in I'll watch car chases on online and stuff, and there's comment sections. Let's go, Brandon. Like, okay, you can just say it. It's not illegal. You can totally say it. You can type it. Nobody's gonna stop you. Oh man, common sense. All right, entertainment news. We are nearing the end of episode 126, but we still got quite a bit of content here, especially when it comes to entertainment news, because I got a lot of good stuff I want to talk about, including that Punk in the Park recap and what I'm listening to. If you're watching the video and you're seeing my shirt, you already know who I'm going to be talking about for listening to this week. But before we get there, I want to talk about a new revival coming. And this is a revival. It is not a reboot, which I think is important to keep in mind. I might have even watched a reboot of this, but there was a show. I think it only had 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons. A show called Party Down. It was a Starz show. Starz is like a movie network, a la HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, premium network and everything. Party Down. It was wildly popular. Adam Scott was on there, Jane Lynch, Ken Moreno, all kinds of Megan Mullally. Star-studded, fantastic show. If you haven't seen it, I believe it's on Netflix. You don't need to have Stars to see, it hasn't been on the air for years. But Stars announced a revival of Party Down. So again, not a reboot, a revival. They're going to kind of continue. And so far, most of the main characters have signed on. And in fact, I think it's only one of the main characters that didn't sign on. It's not because she didn't want to do it. It's because she has schedule conflicts with other stuff that she is currently on. So we're going to see all those people I just mentioned coming back for more Party Down. Super excited about that one. If you're a fan, get excited. That's coming at some point. If you're not a fan, highly recommend checking out Party Down. Like I said, you should be able to find it on Netflix. Because I've never had Stars. I watched it after the fact, like after it was on television. I believe I was watching it on Netflix. Netflix or one of those. It's one of the ones that's been around for a while. So definitely do a little Googling. Check out Party Down. If you haven't seen it, you are missing out. Absolutely missing out on the greatness that is Party Down. So check it out. All right, Ghostbusters Afterlife hits theaters today, November 19th. Young Sean from the 80s is just drooling over this new Ghostbusters movie. Now, seeing the trailers and stuff, I felt pretty confident about it. It looked like it was going to be a good storyline, good plot line, all that kind of good stuff. But there's always some apprehension. However, and there's critics and stuff. I don't read a lot of critics. What I do is I look at peers, people that either like the same movies as I do, or maybe went to film school, and I value their opinion to an extent. And I'm seeing from peers that it is a fantastic movie. Just dropped today. I'm looking forward to seeing that so much. I love all the Ghostbusters films. Even the reboot with the all-female reboot was fantastic. I love the originals. I think I've mentioned before, my mother took us to New York in the 80s when I was a kid. We literally went to Tavern on the Green, sat at the table in front of the window where Rick Moranis is banging on the window because the big dog thing is chasing him. I'm so excited about this one. I'm so excited. Can't wait. I'm probably not going to see it in the theater, so I'm going to wait until it comes on the premium thing or whatever. I might just buy the damn thing. I own all the other Ghostbusters movies, and I love Paul Rudd. And I'm geeking out about the mini Stay Puft things. I still got to go online and order a couple mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Men to put around the studio, because I had a Ghostbusters obsession as a kid, and it takes me right back there to when I was a kid and enjoying all the Ghostbusters movies and even the cartoon. There was a Saturday morning cartoon, Ecto Cooler. Who doesn't love some Ecto Cooler? All that good stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. All right, I kind of teased this last episode, didn't want to talk about it, and I'm not going to get in depth on it. I'm not a legal expert, but I am an expert from a certain aspect, and that would be Travis Scott and the Astro World tragedy that happened down there in Houston. This was wild, because while I was at Punk in the Park, we heard some rumblings of it. I believe it was Saturday night we started hearing rumblings, and then Sunday people were talking about it, and I remember somebody came up there like, "Oh, did you hear what happened?" I was like, "What? And 8 people died." And I was like, "Wait, what? What's going on down there?" And then of course, you're hearing word of mouth. No service out there at Punk in the Park. Again, I won't talk about that, but you're just hearing word of mouth. And so when I got home, it was late Sunday night, Monday morning. I'm kind of like, "Oh my God, that's what everyone was talking about." And the reason I bring this up, it's incredibly sad. Especially a 9-year-old boy lost his life. The kid just wanted to go to a concert with his dad and unfortunately lost his life because of this. And there was at least one other kid. Now I say one other kid, young kid. A lot of them were kids, 20-year-old, just utterly ridiculous to see. You never want to see that. But the important thing I want to talk about is, and I will say there is some truth to this, but a lot of people within my community, within the metal community, we're posting things like, when someone falls down in the pit, we pick them up. If you're not familiar with the pit, that's the big crowd, And I think that I'm not saying it's not true. There is a certain amount of truth to that. That's what we do as punks. That's what we do at punk shows. That's what you do in the pit. However, I don't think we should lump everyone in as being, dumb, for lack of a better word, or not being caring or compassionate. I think this is going to be a situation where in the end we realize the organizers did a lot of things wrong, and it wasn't so much the attitude of the entire crowd that did this. It was more of a logistical fuck up And especially there's video of like thousands of people running through the metal detectors and security gates and everything else, and just being unprepared and putting this crowd surge in there. Now, I will put some blame on Travis Scott. He should have stopped the show. Now, and then there's, the artist doesn't know what's going on in the crowd. I've been to multiple shows where the artist will stop the show until everyone is safe, or they'll see someone in an unsafe situation. I've talked about it before. Amy Interrupter, literally pointing out a girl in the crowd a few years ago who was about to pass out. She's stuck in this big crowd and wasn't getting like mauled or stepped on or anything, but she just was very dehydrated. And she pointed at the security guard, pointed at the girl, and everyone helped the girl get to the front, put her over the rail. Security guard pulled her over the rail, and Amy Interrupter, singing the whole time, grabs a water bottle from off of one of the amps there, hands it to the girl as she's being helped off by security. The artist on stage is completely capable of at least doing a little something to help with that. Travis Scott did not do that by any means. However, I don't think we put all of the blame on the crowd and their ignorance or their not knowing that somebody gets picked up. We don't know exactly what happened there. We don't. So just reserve your, oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Reserve your wrath. That's not the word I'm looking for, but reserve your wrath until we know a little more. And if you're going to put it anywhere, put it on the organizers trying to cut corners and on Travis Scott for not doing his part to kind of make it a little better. At least that little better. Brass Against, this happened. I'm just going to talk about this real quick. If you're not familiar with this, there's a band called Brass Against. Their lead singer, you're hearing this right, their lead singer brought a fan up on stage. He laid on the ground, and she peed on his face. Now, there's had to be apologies and all these other things. NASCAR has apparently was at a NASCAR event or a NASCAR venue. Said, no, they're never going to be allowed back and all these other things. I get it. It's kind of gross. That's not something I really want to see. However, this is really what we're freaking out about. I would like to point out a gentleman from the 80s and early 90s named Gigi Allen. So if you think that was crazy, just go Google Gigi Allen and see what kind of stuff can actually happen at shows. Not a big deal to me. I'm not offended by it. I don't think she needed to apologize. And honestly, that's pretty rock and roll, I think. It's gross, but the dude consented to it. He wanted to do it. It is what it is. Everybody pees. Let's get over it, honestly. All right. Now, from Brass Against to something completely different. Bassists Against Racists. I mentioned this last episode. Make sure you've got like 2 weeks left to pick up a reprint of Eloise or Lynn Lee through the Bassists Against Racists line of shirts. I don't want to brag, but I can tell you I spoke with the great Paul Smith of Zombie Teeth Clothing today. There are some really, really good bassists coming down the pipeline. Like I said, I've ordered my Lynn shirt because I missed out on that one, but there's going to be some really exciting art and artists coming out for Bassists Against Racists, so look forward to that. And again, if you're in the United States, you're going to order Bassists Against Racist through Chaos Merch right here in the U.S. If you are in Europe, and this is something I because I'm in the U.S. and I always order from Chaos Merch, I have failed to mention, if you're in Europe, please make sure you check out the T-Mom website. That's T-M-O-M. Also, follow them on Instagram. Lots of great stuff coming through there. And they don't just do Bassists Against Racist merch. They do a lot of merch for American bands. They do their European merch because shipping makes it easier that way. And I'm not a merch guy, but I know there's a lot of logistics stuff that makes it easier. So make sure not only that you're ordering through T-Mom if you're in Europe, but also follow them on Instagram. Great merch company. Highly recommend them. I don't order a lot from them because I'm in the U.S., but I do follow them on Instagram. Great company. So make sure you're checking them out and pick up your Bassists Against Racist pre-orders, and then also following Bassists Against Racists, Chaos Merch, Lynn Lee, Zombie Teeth Clothing, and T-Mom. That's going to keep you up to date on all of the new designs when they come out so that you'll be able to pre-order in time and not miss one like I missed the first one that was Lynn. I'm lucky that it came back. So make sure you're getting those orders in. And thank you, Paul, for showing me behind the curtain a little bit there. And I can't share any of that with you. It pays to have good friends who are much more connected than I am, or at least connected in the merch and art world. All right, what I'm listening to this week. For those of you on the video, you can see I love this shirt design. It's obviously a take on a Bad Brains logo. And it's Antagonizers ATL. They are a band out of Atlanta. They've been around for a few years. They have 2 albums out. Working Class Street Punk is their first album, and their most recent album is called Kings. It was released in July. It's 2021, June or July of 2021. I actually just found this band. Saw them a few weeks ago opening for the Drowns down there at Alex's Bar, and it was very... I love when this happens. I had no idea who they were. I'd heard the name because they're actually on Pirates Press Records, so you can get their vinyl through Pirates Press. Love Pirates Press. You can get some of their merch through Pirates Press, of course, also on Bandcamp. I'd heard of them, but had never heard them. And I love being at a show and you see a band that you're not familiar with, and like a song or two in, you're just like, oh my God. My eyes were lighting up. I was there with my sis Laura. She was doing the same thing. Shout out to Rob of Punk Rock Saves Lives, who was familiar with the band and said, and because we were there to see the Drowns, I was like, Drowns, hell, I love the Drowns. But he was like, you're going to love Antagonizers. And sure enough, I was like, yep, I love Antagonizers. I left that show with a patch it's already on my jacket. And I've been obsessed with them lately. Both their albums are fantastic. It's skinhead punk rock, skinhead rock and roll, very oi. Like, I would challenge you to listen to them and not kind of want to pump your fists or clap along or dance along, or especially at the shows. I mean, it's very, you're singing along. You're just having such a blast. I'm absolutely obsessed with the Antagonizers. If you have not checked them out, make sure you do, especially if you're a fan of bands like the Drowns or Street Dogs, kind of along that line. You're going to love the Antagonizers. The Attack, they're very much like in that same line of oi punk, skinhead rock. Can't recommend them enough. Keyboards. I love keyboards too. When you throw keyboards, it's just you got everything. And the singer's got a great voice. All great stuff. Make sure you're following Antagonizers. I can't wait until they come back. That's it. That's the thing that sucks. Is like when I found Barstool Preachers. I love them. I love them. I love them. Oh yeah, they're in the UK. Well, Antagonizers aren't quite as far away as the UK, but they're in Atlanta. So they're not here as much as you see the Bomb Pops. Like I can see the Bomb Pops sometimes 3 times in 6 weeks, and because they're an LA band. And Bad Cop, Chaser. I've seen Chaser like 3 times in the course of a month because they're a Southern California band. But check them out, Antagonizers. Both those albums are fire. What did I just say? I did it. You know why? It's because I listened to this sports host on ESPN. He's got teen kids, and he always jokes and he says it's fire. I'm like, now I'm saying it. I don't know where that came from. I tell you, if I start using that, what is it? Yeet. If I start saying that, just stop listening to the podcast. That's how you know we've jumped the shark. But I won't do that. Fire's not bad. That's a little okay. But Antagonizers, get on it. You're missing out if you're not listening to them. And I'll tell you, it's going to be a tough one for best album of 2021. My favorite, not best album, my favorite album of 2021, which will happen. We'll do the top 10 albums of 2021 during the holiday episode. It's going to be tough. We might have a tie for number 1 because Antagonizers Kings and Chaser Dreamers, they might be in a tie for number 1. Speaking of Chaser, they played the fantastic festival that was Punk in the Park. This was fantastic. I was sitting on tickets for this for so long. Rescheduled dates and everything else. Super excited. 2 days of punk and beer outdoors down there in Silverado, California at Oak Canyon Park. If you weren't there, you missed out. It was fantastic. I will say we got there a little bit later than anticipated, which was kind of like, all right, but no big deal. So I did miss a little bit. I missed most of Jughead's Revenge, which was disappointing because I have a friend who's in that band, Eric, but I did get to hear it, just didn't make it all the way to the stage. But of course, from there, we had to run to the other stage. It was 2 stages, which I like no sound pollution when the stages aren't next to each other. However, it was like boom, boom, 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock, 3:30. So the first 3 bands that we saw, we go there, stop by the Punk Rock Saves Lives booth, say what's up to Dabble and Tina and everyone that was working there, and then run to the far stage because literally, I start walking, I'm like, I hear Chaser running, and then right as Chaser finishes, it's like, all right, we got to run back to the other stage. Ran back for Bomb Pops. As soon as Bomb Pops finished, got to run back to the other stage for Last Gang. All of them putting on great sets, and it was fantastic to just be like boom, 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 boom. My legs were a little tired by the end of those few sets because there was just no break for us now. We kind of were able to back off a little bit. after that. But running to the stages was just crazy. It was a little crazy on that first day. And the amount of bands that were playing was just fantastic, because I not only saw bands that I see quite a bit, Bomb Pops and Chaser. Like I said, I see them quite a bit. But a few legendary bands. Definitely a bit of a bucket list item for me was seeing Fear. They put on such a good show. Also the Dickies and the Vandals, who put on a great show. The Vandals did Oi to the World, which was freaking awesome. I will say I was a little disappointed in some of the bands. The lead singer of one of the bands, I'm not going to call out the band specifically, got up on stage and was like, punk rock has never changed the world. Don't waste your time trying to change the world. And I'm sitting there with my buddy Jason, and we're both looking at each other. He's like, and he even said it first, he's like, weren't we just at a booth called Punk Rock Saves Lives, where they're saving lives? And I was like, yeah, it seems like that's changing the world for the positive, but I digress. Fucking boomer punks. And then I've been a Pennywise fan for a long time. They closed out the first night. We left during the set. I was a little bit unimpressed. Now, I have some friends that love Pennywise, and they said it was a great set. I was not up close. I can't do Orange County Pennywise. There's, for lack of a better word, there's a lot of bro fans out there. And then NoFX wasn't putting out their best stuff either. It was a little too much cheese for me. But it was like seeing the other bands, Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. I am not a record stuff guy, but I was at the back, and it's funny because they played Jolene, and my daughter loves Dolly Parton and Jolene. So I'm like, oh, let me record some of this. And then they played Leaving on a Jet. I'm like, oh, and it wasn't blocking anybody because I'm way far at the back, but it's one of those funny bands because it's all covers. And you're like, this is hilarious. It's a punk cover of Jolene, and it's freaking awesome. If you're not familiar with Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, check them out. I've seen them so many times over the years. They played Warped Tour so many times, but they're just a lot of fun. But some bands I was like, okay, that's enough of that. We're gonna go eat now. And I'll tell you, I can't remember the name of the place. We usually have chicken strips and fries. It's at all festivals. This festival had this pizza from somewhere in Orange County. Oh my God, the pizza was so good. I had this spicy something pizza, and it was cheese and pepperoni pizza, and I think there was some spiciness in the sauce with crushed red pepper and jalapenos. It was so tasty. I wish I kind of want that pizza right now. Wish I could have it for lunch right now. And the last thing I'll say is the avoiding of people. I was able to run into a lot of people, missed a couple people that I would have liked to see, because there's literally no phone service out there. You're like, oh, and that killed us the first day, because I was like, we didn't save the set list, so we're trying to, I was, the first day I was checking my phone. Second day I was like, no. But I kept trying to get just a little bit of service so I get the set list, because it's like, boom, 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 where are we? And then Voodoo Glow Skulls filled in for one of the other bands that ended up not being able to play at the last minute. Pulley. They filled in for Pulley, and so we're kind of like, wait, who's okay? Oh, thank God the lead singer of Voodoo Glow Skulls wears that giant poncho all the time. I was like, oh, it's Glow Skulls. Damn, here we go. But I also had to avoid some people, and weirdly, I think this just happens no matter what you're doing. And not because I'm too cool. I'm like, oh, it was more like, please don't talk to me. Please, no, we're not gonna have a nice conversation here. I'm running into those people multiple times throughout the weekend. I'm like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Oh, turn this way. Oh my God. Oh, nope, there they are again. Oh. That was the one bad thing for the weekend, but I'm sure everyone had to deal with that, and I'm sure somebody was out there trying to avoid me, because I would avoid me too. I'm kind of a pain in the ass. I yell at a wall. That's what I do for a living. But outside of that, highly recommend Punk in the Park. I will be there next year. I'm going to talk about more bands that I'm currently listening to, specifically Left Alone. Also, I was unfamiliar with them completely. They were fantastic. Love it. Super excited to continue listening to them. And, of course, the bands that I'm super familiar with. Chaser did fantastic set. Bomb Pops, great set. Last Gang, so much fun live. So make sure, if you're not familiar with them, check them out as well. And I'll be back there next year. I can't wait, I think. And I was talking to some people like Tina with Punk Rock Saves Lives, and I was like, I think this is going to be a big yearly thing. And she was just one of the few people that were like, oh yeah, no, this is going to be a new big thing that's happening yearly here. So looking forward to that. And I'll get my Punk in the Park t-shirt busted out here soon, because had to have the Punk in the Park t-shirt, That was the other thing. I think I mentioned it on a podcast. I picked up a Bruce Scott t-shirt for $5 because it was Bruce Scott was already done. I was at Bruce Scott. I didn't want to pay $40 for a t-shirt, but I got one for $5, so that was good. All right. Oh, that's going to do it for us. I got to go pick up my kid at school. Thanksgiving break time. We should have an episode next Wednesday and possibly the Sunday after. Just going to depend on scheduling, but there will be at least one episode next week, so keep that in mind, whether it's Common Sense Sunday or Go Tell It to the Wall. It's all pretty much the same stuff, so keep an eye out for that. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, facebook.com/Go Tell It to the Wall. Also YouTube, subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/Go Tell It to the Wall. And of course, my own personal Instagram account, which is at SoCalSean, SoCalSean, at SoCalSean. And of course, check out SeanO'RourkeLive.com. Get on the Patreon if you have the means to do so, and definitely pick up some merch for your holiday shopping. That's right. I'm going to try to get some new merch up there. We got the new logo still, too. I just haven't had time to get it up there. So hopefully that'll be up, and you'll be able to get some stuff for your friends and family for the holidays. All right. That's going to do it for episode 126. We'll be back next week. Same wall place, same wall time. I am, of course, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. And until next time, wall fans, common sensors, podcast consumers, remember, no matter what you do, no matter who you're with, no matter where you go, and especially no matter why you are doing it, always use common sense.